We haven't really had much information regarding leaks on the specs of the next Ryzen 3000 series and the next Radeon line of GPUs. Well, today we dive into it. What's up guys, I'm Snows and this is your boot sequence. First, let me start by saying this. You will catch me talk about those leaks like they were facts, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand that all of those are leaks from sources and nothing more. Those sources are 1, a Reddit leak that happened a few months ago about AMD's process, 2, a leak from Reddit on the Ryzen 3 series, and 3, an updated leak on Adored TV's YouTube channel. All of them will be linked down below. Let's start with Navi since there is less to talk about there. Apparently, during CES 2019, 3 new Navi GPUs will be announced. First is the Navi 12 based GPU, the RX 3060. Come on AMD, will you stop piggybacking other people's naming scheme? I mean, Nvidia has the RTX 2060, so you gotta go RX 3060? Jeez. Anyways, that card is supposed to match the RX 580 in performance with 4GB of GDDR6. The big difference here is the price tag at a super budget-friendly $129.99. That, my friends, is value, especially considering it won't require a power connector. The second one will be the RX 3070. At $199, this card will sport 8GB of GDDR6 and will perform as good as a Vega 56 card. The third one is the RX 3080, this time based on the alleged Navi 10. This card will also sport 8GB of GDDR6 for performance levels 15% above Vega 64. The best part, it's only $250. Now this is the card I've been looking for. Super cheap and amazing performance. Of course, you can tell by the naming scheme that those cards are meant to compete with Nvidia's 10 series of the similar monikers. The 3060 will compete with the 1060, the 3070 with the 1070, and the 3080 with the GTX 1080. That's it for the Navi leaks. Let's jump into Ryzen. So we have some major leaks on the Ryzen 3000 series. Let's break it down. First, Ryzen 3000 will likely have a new addition to its lineup. Just like Intel, AMD decided to add the 9 moniker for their CPU line, which means we now have a Ryzen 3, Ryzen 5, 7, and Ryzen 9 line of CPUs. AMD will also switch to the chiplet design for their CPUs, so if you're wondering how the cores will be arranged, I'll have some graphics put up on the screen. Let's begin with the Ryzen 3. The leaks show 3 models with a spec bump to 6 cores and 12 threads. While you can see the specs on screen here, I'll focus on what really caught my attention. First, the price. Starting at $99, AMD is definitely taking the word budget seriously. Then we can see that a 3300G model will also be available, almost doubling the graphics compute units and switching from Vega to Navi. This CPU will have 6 cores on one chiplet, with the other chiplet being a dummy, except for the 3300G, which will use it for the graphics chip. Moving on to the Ryzen 5, we also get 3 models, but this time with 8 cores instead of 6. The boost clock of the 3600X is getting dangerously close to 5 GHz, all thanks to AMD's choice in manufacturing, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. For now, take a look at that beast R5 3600G with 20 Navi compute units. That's once again almost double the CUs from the last generation and almost as many as Intel's Hades Canyon package, except this time it's Navi instead of Vega. Then we move on to the real interesting stuff for me, because that's my upgrade path right here. The Ryzen 7s. According to the leaks, they will see their core count bumped up to 12 cores, skipping 10 cores completely. The 3700X will have its base clock of 4.2 GHz with a boost of, and I'm glad to say I was wrong all of these times I said it wouldn't happen, 5 GHz. Now, as usual, this is full of precision boost magic, so it won't be 5 GHz on all cores, but that still means that it should hold somewhere around 4.6, maybe 4.7 GHz on all cores. We can also see, thanks to those leaks, that the price still isn't budging for this generation, which is incredible. Take note, Nvidia and Intel, take notes. Lastly, we have the new addition to the roster, the Ryzen 9. At this point, I don't even know if AMD would need such a thing, since the 3rd gen Ryzen Ryzen 7 already looks like it could crush the rumored Comet Lake 10-core Intel. Anyways, at a hefty but still reasonable $500, the R9 3850X is said to have 16 cores, stepping into Threadripper territory with a base clock of 4.3 and a boost clock of 5.1 GHz. All of those CPUs are supposed to be announced at CES next year, except for the G series, which will come in Q3 of next year. And apparently, the Ryzen 9 3850X is supposed to be announced a little bit earlier in May. So how could they increase the core count this much? Well, there's two things. First, AMD created Zen to be scalable, and Zen 2 on the EPYC platform really showed us how far they could push things thanks to the chiplet design. I gave you my 2 cents on how AMD could make this happen a few videos ago, and it looks a lot like the little animations I made. One thing I didn't expect though is for them to replace a core chiplet for a graphics die. Anyways, increased core count is great, but how did they manage to pull the clocks up this high? Well, AMD is apparently changing more than just the process node. Yes, going from 12 nanometer to 7 nanometer is great, but they both have 2 variants, LP and HPC. Can you guess what LP and HPC stand for? That's right, low power and high performance computing. The first 2 generations of Ryzen were built on LP chips, and that was one of the reasons for the cap around 4 GHz. By switching to a 7 nanometer HPC process, they might be able to deliver a much higher clock speed of around 5 GHz. We of course trade that in for a little bit of power consumption, but who cares, am I right? Hopefully, TSMC won't be overcrowded because AMD is very likely to use their process, and a lot of other companies are sourcing their chips from there too. Global Foundries unfortunately doesn't seem to have 7 nanometers on lock right now. Alright, hopefully that got you all up to date on the leaks for AMD, and honestly, they seem pretty solid. Both sources, old and new, are from different people, and for them to have so many things in common and be in the realm of the possible makes me feel confident that those are the specs that we will have. Don't forget to drop a like down below, as well as letting me know how you feel about those leaks. As always, you can click right here to see the latest video and right here to subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you thought of this specific video, that style of one subject, and that's pretty much it. Stay frosty, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Snows out. Oh, if you want me to make a song about Ryzen, let me know, I'd love to.